Okay, so here I just took a quick video of Finn hanging out in the house, and I noticed a few things I wanted to point out. So he's really, really wanting the older dogs to play with him here, and from that comes a lot of frustration. So he starts to get a little bit vocal and a little bit silly, which, if there was a lot of commotion with people, I think would have turned into kind of him reacting on us with the bitey and the jumping and all the craziness. Um, so I kind of just let him play it out, and he ended up doing exactly what I would want a dog to do. There's also the cat in there, which the cat gets him incredibly jazzed. Um, so first of all, he's not fixating on the cat, and he's also not pestering the dogs. So all that in its own is what I was recording because it's beautiful to see. But here I'm going to go ahead and spread out a few toys, just take them out of our buckets and have them on the floor. And he immediately went and grabbed one. And having something in his mouth to play with instead of the other dogs seemed to kind of settle him down. Trying to play with other dogs had him running every which way, doing a lot of play bows, and it can get him more worked up than needed. And here he's still playing with a toy, he's still excited, but he's in one place. He even lays down for a second here. It's a little bit more of a controlled excitement, if that makes sense. That's the best way I can describe it. That's kind of weird wording, but basically his energy is going into this toy play, which is appropriate versus all around. He tried to get back at Marty. She corrected him, and immediately he ran over to get another toy and put another toy in his mouth. So all these things, this is great. We want him to be able to redirect his attention elsewhere. So if that means I have to sprinkle a few toys out instead of leaving them in the bucket, that's fine. And then as he gets older, in theory, he'll be able to go to the bucket himself and grab them. But he's doing great. Here I'm kind of interacting with him, playing with the toy, just to play with him. He was just being a good boy. So I was gonna see if he would drop it for me a few times, which he does. And I tossed it a few times, and he did great. He's super fun to play with. He's always really good with his toys. Okay, so here Twiggy corrected him because he ran towards her couch. Now, he did not jump on her couch. He's just trying to get his toy. So I went over there as fast as I could to A, push Twiggy back, and B, help him out because I want him to be able to get the toy because that was my bad for throwing it in that direction in the first place. But he's fine. He grabbed the toy. We started playing with it a little bit, gave him a little bit of pets, and he was totally fine. Oop, where'd he go? He's a good boy. Okay, so here we're working on a little bit of place work. I know you said you've introduced it to him, but haven't been doing a ton of work. But whatever you have been doing is working because he did amazing. So all I'm doing is standing in front of the raised dog bed here. And you can see I'm kind of out of the shot. My feet are right up against it. And that just has it set up where he will naturally go to the bed while he looks up at me waiting for cookies. Because when dogs come up to get food, they generally sit right in front of us, butt on the ground, eyes on us. So I just put my body in a place where he does that naturally. He'll be on the bed. Then I mark and treat for that. You'll notice that every time I'm releasing him from his bed or tossing a treat out to restart him, I'm using a verbal cue. In my case, it's all done or find it, or find it. Sometimes I say both. But I want to make sure that when we're practicing this, when he gets off, it's going to be from me releasing him and not him just deciding, oh, I'm done with this behavior. So lots of treats while he's staying in place, doing a little bit of duration work. And then when I toss a treat to restart him, I go ahead and use that all done or find it. So here he's sitting on the ground. I'm not saying anything. I'm just waiting, and he figures it out. He's really good at kind of problem solving, and he did amazing. He's trying to find the cookie. Oh, he's so cute. He did so well. So I actually added a verbal cue towards the end of this little session, and the thing that got me feeling that he was ready for that is, again, I'm not on the screen, which is not great, but I was end up being like 2 to 1 feet away from the cot. At some point, I even turned my body to face the kitchen table, which is a different direction than this cot. And that all might not sound super difficult, but it is hard. Again, they want to sit in front of us. So me turning my body and him not sitting in front of me and figuring out to go to the bed tells me that he understands what I'm asking of him. And so that's when I went ahead and paired the verbal cue. I had to shoo Marty off a little bit. Do shoo, shoo, shoo. Here we go again. So I'm further back. You can tell I'm about 1.5 feet away because we can see a foot by the bed. And he still got on it. He has plenty of room to sit in front of me, but he decided he got on the bed instead. And he does great. I treat him multiple times while he's staying on it. Then I toss the treat out. So this time, I'm going to turn my feet this way. Okay, so I'm in a different position. So my feet are facing the window, not the bed. And I just wait. And you can see he's going through it. He's getting a little frustrated, but he figures it out. And that's amazing. For these puppies that are this young, I don't want to get them too frustrated. So I usually give them about 10 seconds. And if in that 10 seconds they haven't figured it out, I'll reposition my body to make it a little easier. But I didn't even get to, I don't even think I got to 8 seconds counting in my head before he was figured it out. So he does incredible. So I went ahead and added the verbal cue. And just like any kind of capturing behavior, once I think he knows it, I add the verbal cue when I know he's going to do it. And you'll see that in just a second. So I'm waiting for him to head to the cot. Right there. I said it when he was already getting on the mat. Because again, he knows the behavior and we're just pairing it with that new verbal cue.
Yes. All done. Find it.
Okay, so right here I turn my body and you see that I said place. Something about his body language at the moment made me think he was about to turn to get on the place. But now watching it back, I don't know what I was seeing, but I did say it too soon. So all I'm doing is waiting. Then you can see I move my body closer to make it easier. And when I saw him going, I just said it again. So we're not perfect. They're going to make mistakes, and so are we. We probably make more mistakes than they do. And I just figure it out, right? I said place at the wrong time. Did it ruin his behavior, his ability to do the behavior? No, it didn't. It was fine. I caught my mistake, and the next time I waited longer to say it, and I waited to make sure he was going to go on it. So he did amazing. Okay, so this next video is a really short video. It's just me. I'm moving dogs around, and I like to have this gate up so that Boom and him can't get out of control. And I decided before I put Boom in his crate to get a couple of seconds of settle work. So right there, he put his feet on the ground, and I marked and treated for that. And here in a minute, he'll run up to the gate and jump on Boom. I call his name, and he comes back to me. So he gets treated for that. And you can't see because he's off the camera, but he's getting treated a few times. Right there, he went up to the gate and turned back around. So he got treated for that too. And then I just went ahead and put Boom up because that's what I was doing anyway. So it was just a couple seconds of some work that I wanted to add in there. Okay, so here we are setting up a little bit of attention work and some leash walking work before we go on our very short walk up and down our street. So here I'm just standing in my yard and I'm marking and treating those check-ins. So I'm just waiting for eye contact. As soon as he gives me eye contact, I mark and treat. He does it really well, and it's honestly hard to break that eye contact once I reward for it. So after, I would say, like 5 of these, we move on to the next thing. So sometimes I do this right before our walk, and then after I get a few check-ins, I head out on our walk. But before we did our walk today, I decided to throw in a little bit of some very beginning heel/leash walking games. So this is called the pattern game. And what it does is it encourages and rewards dogs following us in a loose heel position. So here I use my hand just to set him up into the position I want him to. I treat him a few times, and then I sidestep and I turn. And then as soon as his body is coming towards me, I mark and treat. And then he's getting that treat right by my side. So here I go again. I'm going to turn to the side. Right when he moves forward, I say yes. He comes all the way in and gets that treat right by my leg. And what this just encourages is following us, being in this heel position next to us, and it just starts the very beginning foundations of what leash walking skills are. And he did really well. As he gets better at it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take more steps. So what that would look like is just instead of this one side step, I would step and keep stepping. So he has a little bit longer to come in and follow me. And that's just, I didn't do it this time because this is our first kind of introduction to this pattern game. So just as he gets better at it, I can progress it and make it a little bit more difficult by doing those things.
You got it out. Let's go.
Okay, so here's us going on a little bit of walk up and down our street. Stopping to take a tinkle. And he does great. He's really lovely on the leash. Here he's pulling, so I'm just gonna head and stay still and wait and see if he comes back into me. He does. So we keep going forward because we're kind of working on if there's slack in the leash, that means we move forward, and if there's tension, we freeze.
Yes.
There's a really beautiful check-in, so I went ahead and marked and treated him for that.
I know that was very slow.
And he does a couple of those throughout the walk, which is really good. And we want to make sure that we're rewarding those check-ins so that we're getting some engagement with us on these walks, even if it's not a training walk and we're not asking for a heel or downs or weights. Kind of keeping involved with us is always going to be a good skill for the dogs to have as they get older. But he does great. I think he only pulls a few times, and he's just dawdling along, having a nice sniff. And it's good for them at this age to be able to sniff and experience, their environment in their own way and their own terms. So we're not always asking for these very strict behaviors outside. I like that they can experience their environment while still being interested and keyed in on us too. So it's kind of a two-way teaching street, right? You'll notice I'm even slowing down to see if he's pulling or see if I can get his attention in other ways. And he just slows down with me and he's like, okay, we can walk at this speed. So when they pull off to the side, I pretty much treat it the same way. I stand my ground and I don't let him pull me further into people's yards. Of course, I'm okay with them sniffing the grass a little bit here and there, but I don't want to be dragged up into people's yards. So I do the same thing where I freeze, and once you come back into me and that slack is back in the leash, we move forward again. Okay, so here's that time I want to turn around, and I like to have a verbal cue for my dogs for changing direction. It's nice when we have dogs on long lines. It's nice on walks when we want to go a different way, and they might be a little more focused on going the way they're already going. And it's also really, really useful if we ever do off-leash stuff with our dogs. So the one I use is let's go. And it doesn't mean heel or come. It just means we're going a different direction, so let's walk with me this way. It's probably my most used behavior. I do a lot of off-leash hiking with Boom, and I don't always want to call his name as a recall because I don't need him to come to me and sit down and get treated. But I do want to change directions, and I need him to follow me. But it's also great for leash walking, too. So I went ahead and introduced that to him, and he does great.